manifestations. There's always something to the when a wave comes to its seventh day, because what that means is that the alternations between energies, between the nights, comes to an end. There is no returning to any sort of night anymore.
Okay.
And if we look, for instance, of what happened in the national underworld, the sixth wave, or the long count, as most people refer to it, it was locked into position with the seventh day of this in the year 1617, and from that point it has never shifted back to anything. And what that meant was that was the time when the world really came to be dominated by the Western Hemisphere, when the old colonial powers from the West came to dominate the global colonial situation. And when the scientific revolution took place, the capitalist was really locked into position. All of these things had been sort of vacillating before, because it's only with the seventh day that the wave energy is locked into position, and that, I think, is a crucial thing.
How do you view today, Carl, things as the compression of time or compression of events? People who are listening will probably be aware of your particular thesis by watching one of the 9-step pyramids, for instance, at Chichen Itza, as a kind of a model for how this evolution has unfolded, so to speak. These different tiers of leaps forward in terms of evolution. But if we look at it, we're in the last, or soon then entering into this last little is this a galactic cycle or the universal cycle, Carl, that we're entering into now, by the way?
Well, it is like there is this old Mayan inscription, which is actually the only one that talks about what happens when the calendar comes to an end, as I'm using that word myself. But
sure.
Anyway, and that talks about what they call the 9 foundation entity will manifest in its full regalia. That's how the Mayanists are currently reading this particular inscription.
Right.
Now, 9 foundations is a good word, because it's the 9 foundations of the pyramid that then will be appearing in its full splendor, or whatever wording you like to use.
Yeah.
And you might say that the seventh day of the 8th wave that we're coming to now in early November, that means really the completion of the 8th foundation, the 8th terrace, the 8th level of consciousness. And it's only on the top of that foundation that the highest level, the 9th wave, will truly be activated in March 9th, 2011.
Yeah.
And that has another character, because it's fundamentally much more spiritual, I believe. I think I may have overemphasized some of the spiritual qualities of the galactic underworld that we have been in so far. And it has really been much more about creating a cyber civilization, sort of, which is, in a sense, is a holistic aspect of the right brain has. But it really has not been bringing this people into unity consciousness, into the space of God, if you like.
Yeah.
And that, I believe, is reserved for the 9th and final wave, which is the one that's sort of there to cap all of evolution off,
right?
In order to provide the 9 foundation entities appearance in its full regalia.
Yeah, the completion of the whole pyramid structure, as it were, in that sense. And do you feel still, though, that will be an incredible powerful / hectic almost event, considering that it's a very small time scale that many of those things need to be implemented on. Do you still view that might be a kind of a, if you will, a little bit of a chaotic period, or how do you view this today, Carl?
Yeah, well, I don't really, I surely I do believe that it will be chaotic. But I must also say that I actually had thought that things would have been a little bit more chaotic already than they have been.
Yeah.
But I do believe maybe it is only reserved for that final way to create a kind of a chaos. I do not believe that it's by itself is so tremendously hectic. It's because of its very nature of creating unity consciousness, of creating a presence in the moment, which we have been barred from for, I would say, 5,000 years.
Yeah.
But I do believe that it will be very confusing to the many people that are sort of stuck in the lower levels of consciousness of the pyramid, who do not know what is happening, and how many people will actually consciously, intentionally be surfing on this wave of the ninth level. That remains to be seen, and I certainly don't believe that that's all of humanity, but I do hope that a lot of people will understand what's going on, and sort of, rather than sort of becoming more hectic, using this as a very high frequency introduction of the possibility of unity consciousness, which is almost like the opposite of hecticness. It is more like a piece of being that I hope those that are aligning themselves, that are doing the appropriate kinds of meditations and spiritual processes will be part of.
Right. I would like to ask you as well here if touch a little bit more on this point of the way that things have turned out, and how you view things. If they have unfolded in the way that you saw things back when you released, your first book, for instance, Solving the Greatest Mystery of Our Time, the Mayan calendar. Have things been going, if I put it this way, according to plan, do you think? And I bring this up also in the context that last time you were with us, Carl, we talked about this idea that we might also be looking at a delay of an implementation of the energies that you've been mapping, and the fact is that all of these things could still happen in terms of implementation and even more drastically, but we're still looking at a kind of a delay in a few years here. How do you view that, Carl?
Well, if you look upon the predictions that I made in that first book, published in English, there are some very dramatic and amazing predictions that have come to pass, that have really been manifesting, and it refers to the general rise of the East, especially in the economic arena. I predicted the rise of China, economically speaking, way before people did so in general. And I did that based on the Mayan calendar, based on the fact that the galactic underworld would bring a light to the Eastern Hemisphere. And there are several other predictions that I have made that have really proven to be right, I think.
Well, definitely the economic situation, Carl, that we're currently in, and same thing there, I would say, because I remember you really were talking about this back in 2005, 2006, if I remember correctly, and now, 3 or so years later, we can really see the big, or 5 actually years later, we can see the big implementation of that unfolding in the world, right?
Yes, I think so. So that was a very accurate prediction. But then you might also add that there are certain things that have not been verified that I predicted, maybe not as important, but yet. And I cannot really tell this, whether we are on schedule or if this world is sort of a little bit out of schedule. In a sense, frankly, when I started this work really like a full-time activity in 1993, I did so out of a sense that it may not be on schedule. Which was very early, and that worried me, and I sort of felt compelled to do what I could do in order to help the things to go on time and things to be on schedule and so forth.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I'm not that kind of a 100% optimist kind of a guy.
Sure.
What I'm doing basically is that I'm trying to outline what is meant to happen according to the cosmic plan.
Yeah.
But I'm and still I'm just one person here with all my personal biases and special backgrounds in different ways, and so that will color some of the predictions and my feelings about whether we are on track or not.
Sure.
I should really not say so. I don't have a definite answer to that. All I'm saying is that we cannot sit around and wait for something to happen in the sky.
Right.
We need to be co-creators and do our best and call for events and processes that we really can see serves humanity, regardless of whether it's a Mayan calendar or not.
Yeah, exactly.
And then at least we're not doing anything wrong, as far as I can tell.
But I guess what you're saying as well here, Carl, then obviously is that it's up to us, human beings here in this situation, if we want to participate in the way that the energies are outlined for us at this point in time, I guess as well, because previously, if the balancing of these energies were trying to be achieved, let's say 100 or 200 or even 500 years ago, they might have been almost impossible, or probably they would have been impossible to implement. But I guess what you're saying is that at this particular time, it's a favorable time that we're in because of the energies are aligned in this way. But still, to pass over to that, or to make the balance happen here, so to speak, we can't just sit around and wait for it. We have to act on that and try to implement that. Correct?
Yes, I really put it very much according to the way I look upon it, and I have nothing to add to it. Absolutely.
All right. So what can you say in terms of the polarity shift in consciousness as well here, as opposed to many people talk about a pole shift on the planet, but what you're talking about is obviously a polarity shift in consciousness. Is that something also that you feel is happening from a cosmic level, that we are being influenced by cosmic energies in that sense, or is it all internal? Is it inside us? Is that where the change is happening, Carl?
It's both, I would say. I tend to believe that the whole idea that there is some kind of a geomagnetic pole shift or something like that on its way is just a superstition, and it has nothing to do with the Mayan calendar. It's an idea that goes back to the 1800s, and when people were really very materialist, very into the industrial world, and completely blindfolded to the spiritual energies. And so in those days, people could not conceive that that the world was driven by spiritual forces and shifting polarities of consciousness. Now, you might say that the way the universe works is according to a hierarchy, a nested hierarchy of different levels where these polarities are expressed. And the highest level is the cosmic tree of life. The second level is the galactic tree of life, which is basically the axis around which the whole galaxy is rotating. And then comes the solar system level, then comes the planetary levels, and then comes us. And this is sort of a series of lenses that is projecting down to us the field changes, polarity of consciousness changes.